Welcome to the first look at opening lines for Week 10 of NFL action here on FTN Bets, sponsored by Bets TV and available on the Game Plus network. The first game we're going to talk about is the Thursday night football game between the Baltimore Ravens and the Miami Dolphins. The Ravens are 6-2 on the season, 3-5 against the spread, 5-3 to the over, and coming off a 34-31 win over the Minnesota Vikings. The Miami Dolphins are 2-7 on the season, 3-5-1 against the spread, 4-5 to the over, and coming off a win against the Houston Texans, 17-9 last week. Unfortunately, I don't see a lot of value in this game. My number on this game is the Ravens favored by 7 points, which is the number that's being offered by both DraftKings and BetMGM. When you look at the payouts, though, that's what's interesting, and I wanted to point out to you guys. On DraftKings, the -7 is at -120, meaning that it's more likely to go up to 7.5 at this point. Pretty much the same thing on BetMGM. It's -115 on BetMGM, which also means that it's very likely to move. And if it does move, it's going to move up to 7.5 is going to be the next number for it. So the best thing I could tell anybody is if you do like the Ravens, now is the time to play them. If you think that the Ravens are overrated and the Dolphins are going to cover, you might want to wait a little bit till later on in the week, because if it does move to 7.5, then you would be able to capture the 7 when that move does happen. It is a decent game if you want to tease it down. The Ravens are a team that tends to win, but they win ugly, as a lot of people like to say. It's not like they're a team that's blowing people out by 2 touchdowns or anything like that. So now we can move on to the 1 o'clock games for Sunday. And we're going to start with the Buffalo Bills taking on my New York Jets. Buffalo is 5-3 on the year, 4-3-1 against the spread, 3-5 to the over, and coming off a really bad 9-6 loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars last weekend. The Jets are 2-6 on the season, 2-6 against the spread, 5-3 to the over, and coming off a loss to the Indianapolis Colts, 45-30 last Thursday. The Jets do have a little bit of extra rest, so we have to factor that into our number as well. And when I run the numbers on this game, I get Buffalo should be favored by about 11.5 points here. So technically, I guess, yes, there is a little bit of value on the Jets. This number is probably a little bit too high at at -13. You know, again, my number is -11.5. And when you're talking about big numbers like this, like, yes, it's 1.5 points, but 1.5 points to a spread of 13 or a spread of 11.5, it's like a 10% difference. So it's not a massive move. It's not a massive difference right there. 11.5, not really a key number, kind of in no man's land right there. So do I want to bet on the Jets in this game? No. But the way that I'm looking at it is, because I think it's a few too many points, what I am is I'm not super high on the Buffalo Bills in this game right now. So I guess we could say that I am bearish on the Buffalo Bills at 13 points. I just think it's a little bit too high. Maybe it's the Jet fan in me. Maybe it's the fact that the Jets have actually looked better without Zach Wilson as their quarterback, which is what I'm kind of banking on here. So do I think Buffalo wins? Yes. Do I think they win big? Yes. Do I want to lay 13 points with them? No. And that's the reason why I'm bearish. So the next game we can talk about here is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Washington Redskins. Tampa Bay is 6-2 on the year, 3-5 against the spread, 5-3 to the over, and coming off a bye last week. The Redskins are 2-6 on the year, 1-7 against the spread, 4-4 to the over, and also coming off a bye last week. So there really isn't anything we have to factor in with the bye here, because both teams are coming in off of extra rest. So when I break down the numbers here, I actually get Tampa Bay should be favored by 8.5 points right here. So yes, there is a slight edge on Washington. No, it is not an edge that we're going to be playing. It's only 1 point, 8.5 to 9.5. Again, kind of in no man's land, not exactly a key number of 9 that we're crossing from one side to the other of. I just don't see any value here. Do I think Tampa Bay wins? Yeah, I do think Tampa Bay wins. Do I think the Redskins are a very overrated team? I mean, they're 1-7 against the spread. So that should tell you everything you need to know about how overrated the Washington Redskins are. You know, the books and the bettors seem to be giving them a lot more credit than they deserve. I just don't see any reason why I would want to be betting on the Redskins here. Or, I'm sorry, the Redskins, the Washington football team. I still call them the Redskins. Apologies to everybody out there for that, but you guys know what I'm talking about. So the next game we can look at here is the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Dallas Cowboys. Atlanta is 4-4 on the year, 4-4 against the spread, 5-3 to the over, coming off a win against the New Orleans Saints 27-25. The Dallas Cowboys are 6-2 on the year, 7-1 against the spread, 5-3 to the over, and coming off a loss to the Denver Broncos last week, 30-16. So when I run the numbers on this game, I get Dallas should be favored by 8. So again, a little bit too many here at -9, but looking at the BetMGM side of things, I actually think this number could go up to -10. BetMGM opened it at -115. They dropped it down to -9. I don't know which direction it's going to go, but either way, whether it's 9 or whether it's 10, it's still bigger than my number of 8 here. Do I want to bet the Falcons? No, it's another one of those games where it's not like I like the Falcons enough where my -8 is going to put me on them at +9. But it's also one of those situations where, because I think it's a little bit too high, I'm not all that high on the Cowboys here. So this is another game I'm going to be avoiding here. If we get a bounce back game from the Cowboys and they look like the Cowboys of every week but the last two, they're probably going to win this game by double-digit points. If the Cowboys play like they played last week, there's a chance this game stays well under 10. But you know what? It's one that we can avoid. We have better spots where we can put our money. So the next game we'll talk about here, the New Orleans Saints against the Tennessee Titans. The Titans did play last night, Sunday Night Football, came up with a very big win against the Los Angeles Rams there. Very impressive win for them. BetMGM, as of this morning, still didn't have a lineup on this game, but we do have one up on DraftKings. So let's look at their opponent here, the New Orleans Saints. Saints are 5-3, 4-4 against the spread, 4-4 to the over, coming off that loss against Atlanta, 27-25. So when I run my number on this game, I actually get Tennessee should be favored by about 1 point. So I think at 2.5, it's a little bit too high there. Since we're not getting the +3 on the Saints, I do think the best way to play this game is to look at the Saints on the money line at +130. Like I said, we got about 1.5 points worth of value here, but 1.5 points worth of value on a number that's 1 or 2.5 is a lot more important than 1.5 points worth of value on a number that's, 9.5, 10.5, 11, like some of the numbers that we saw in some of the earlier games here with the bigger spreads. I do think there's value on the Saints side here, but like I said, if you're not getting the full +3, the best way to play this is actually just looking at the money line. So we'll have to see what the number comes out at BetMGM. If BetMGM comes out with a Saints +3, which I don't think is going to happen, because if you look at the DraftKings number at +100, they're kind of enticing you to get there because they don't want to put it up to the +3. If BetMGM hangs a +3, then I would like the Saints +3. If you can't get the full +3, though, I think it's just better to play this on the money line. And right now, we only have the money line for DraftKings at +130. So that would be the way that I'm looking at it here. Am I super bullish on this? No, not really. But I do think that the value is with the Saints on the money line at +130 if we can't get that full 3 points of protection. So we have 3 more games in the early window to take a look at here. The next one I want to talk about is the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Indianapolis Colts. The Jags are 2-6 on the season, 3-5 against the spread, 2-6 to the over, coming off a huge win against the Buffalo Bills, 9-6 on Sunday. Indianapolis is 4-5 on the year, 6-3 against the spread, 6-3 to the over, and coming off a 45-30 win over the New York Jets on Thursday, where they get a little bit of extra rest coming into this game as well. When I run my numbers on this game, I actually wind up with the Indianapolis Colts should be favored by 9 points. So again, this is another one of those situations where I just think it's a few too many points that we're looking at here. And this is one that is around the key number, right? Like I have this as a 9-point spread. The spread is 10.5, 10 being a semi-key number. Obviously, a field goal plus a touchdown equals 10 points. So I do not want to be on that side of this game at all. What I do think about this game, though, is I do think it's a pretty decent teaser piece, right? Like I think you can tease this down to 4.5. You get through the 10, you get through the 7 there, you get through the 6 and the 8, which are semi-key numbers as well, especially with teams going for 2 more often towards the end of games and, trying to get the math to all work out on all those 2-point conversions in the second half. I do think there's a little bit of value going with the Colts on that side. But again, I had the line at 9. So even if you move it, you're still only getting maybe 4.5 points on it from where I think the number should be. So it's not a massive play. It's not my favorite teaser piece of the week, but it's honestly the only way I would play this game. I'm a little bit bearish on the Colts at 10.5. I just think it's a few too many points. I totally do not expect the Jaguars to knock off another top team here, especially on the road. But again, I think it's a lot of points at 10.5. This next game is actually one of my favorite bets of the weekend. We have the 0-8 Detroit Lions, 4-4 against the spread, 3-5 to the over, and coming off a bye. We have the 4-3 Pittsburgh Steelers. They are 3-4 against the spread. They are 1-5-1 to the over. and they play Monday Night Football against the Chicago Bears. Remember, I do this video early Monday morning. So right now we don't have, the results of that game. We don't know if anybody's going to get hurt. We don't know how that's going to go. So I say that caveat because depending on what happens on Monday Night Football, that could change things here. But this look ahead line right now is very interesting to me because when I run numbers for this game, I get the Steelers should be favored by about 13.5 points in this game, which means that we have a ton of value on the Pittsburgh Steelers side. They're below the 10, they're below the 13 as well. So that's two key numbers between where I think this game should be and where the books have it right now. I mean, I couldn't be more bullish on the team than I am on the Pittsburgh Steelers here. I think it's a combination of the fact that I'm a little bit higher on the Steelers than other people because I think that defense is very good. I don't think the Steelers are ever going to be playing high-scoring games. Well, I shouldn't say ever, but with the team they have this year, this is not a Steelers team that's going to put up 35 points like some of the Steelers teams in the past. They're going to win games 21-10, 20-17, 20-13, 24-13. Those are going to be the kind of scores that the Steelers win games by. But they have a couple things working for them. Their stud defense is going to absolutely shut down the Lions offense. I just don't see how the Lions, with a bad quarterback, with a crappy set of wide receivers, is going to be able to go out there and really do well against this Pittsburgh Steelers defense that is very, very good. The flip side of this coin is that the Detroit Lions defense is not good at all. The last time we saw them against the Philadelphia Eagles, they gave up 44 points to an Eagles offense that most people don't think is very good. So when you look at the Eagles offense not being very good and being able to put up 44, again, I agree the Steelers offense is not elite this year, but this should be one of the higher scoring games for the Steelers offense. So you have the Steelers defense who's going to be able to shut down the Lions. You have the Steelers offense that should be able to put up a bunch of points here. I don't think 9 points is enough. So I am very bullish on the Pittsburgh Steelers, one of my favorite bets of the weekend here. And that brings us to the last 1 o'clock game that we have, which is the Cleveland Browns taking on the New England Patriots. The Browns are 5-4 on the year, 5-4 against the spread, 5-4 to the over. At least they're consistent. Coming off a win against the Cincinnati Bengals, 41-16. New England also 5-4 on the year, 5-4 against the spread, 4-5 to the over. Coming off a 24-6 win against the Carolina Panthers. When I run my numbers on this game, I get this game should be a pick 'em, right? Like I have the Browns as a better team on a neutral field. When you factor in the home field advantage and all, it comes down to very close to being a pick 'em. So the Browns getting 2.5, I think there's value there. But the value that I really like is actually on the money line at plus 115. So when you have something that's a coin flip, right? Like think about it. If you're flipping a coin with somebody, heads you win, tails they win. If you're betting $1 every time and he bets $1, then at the end of the day, if you flip the coin 1,000 times, you're both probably going to end up even. But in a situation where every time you win on a coin flip, you get $1.15 out of him and you only got to give up $1, eventually you're going to wind up taking all that guy's money. And that's the way that I look at a game like this. That's a coin flip against a sports book. If a sports book is willing to pay us plus 115 on something that we think is a 50-50 chance, there is value on that side. Now, we talked about this a little bit already in, I think it was the New Orleans game. If you're not getting the full +3 to get the protection of the field goal, I always think it's better to just play the money line here. The money line on DraftKings for both of these teams is actually negative, -105, -115. But on BetMGM on the Brown side, you can get plus 115. So with the Browns plus 115, I think there's a lot of value on that number, that plus 115 number there. So I am very bullish on the Cleveland Browns here today for the last 1 o'clock game. So that wraps it up for the first look at the 1 o'clock games. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back with the 4 o'clock games and the Sunday and Monday night games here on the first look at the opening lines at FTN Bets. Welcome back, everybody. We have 4 games in the 4 o'clock window, a Sunday night game and a Monday night game to talk about here. So let's get into it. We're going to start with the first 4 o'clock game, which is the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. The Vikings are 3-5, 4-4 against the spread, 4-4 to the over, coming off a very close loss to the Baltimore Ravens, 34-31 on Sunday. The Chargers are 5-3, 5-3 against the spread, just 3-5 to the over, and coming off a win against the Philadelphia Eagles, 27-24. So when I run numbers on this game, I actually get the Chargers should be favored by 2. So I do think the 2.5 is a little bit too high. I'm basically on market here. There's really no value. There's not anything that I really want to bet on this game. I'm looking at that -2. I'm looking at the -2.5 at -115. I'm looking at the -2.5 at -120 on DraftKings. There's a good chance that this number moves and goes up to -3. So again, if you're interested in the Chargers, you should probably take them now at the 2.5 on BetMGM at -115 before it moves. If you're interested in the Viking side of this game, wait. You'll probably be able to get a full +3 at some point this week. I got to be perfectly honest with you, though. I think that the line on this game is probably right where it should be. I don't have any bet. I don't think there's any value on this one. So the next game up is the Carolina Panthers against the Arizona Cardinals. They were slow to release lines on this game, but they did actually put them out this morning, which gives me a lot of confidence that we will have Kyler Murray back under center for the Arizona Cardinals. Carolina is 4-5 on the year, 4-5 against the spread, 2-7 to the over, coming off a loss to the New England Patriots, 24-6. Arizona is 8-1 on the year, 7-2 against the spread, 4-5 to the over, coming off a win against the San Francisco 49ers, 31-17, without their starting quarterback. They had Colt McCoy in there, who looked pretty good, the ageless Colt McCoy, a guy that I've always been a big fan of since his Texas days back in college. So when I run the numbers on this game, I get that the Arizona Cardinals should be favored by 9.5, assuming that Kyler Murray does play. So if Kyler Murray is playing here, I'm basically right on market, right? And I really was hoping that the numbers turned out a little differently because Carolina has been pretty garbage this year. But I can't do it. I mean, like 10 is actually a lot of points here. I know Arizona's at home. I know Carolina's offenses look bad. They did get Christian McCaffrey back last week. So hopefully that, opens a couple more things up for them. They still need to learn how to block though, right? If the offensive line can't protect Sam Darnold and give him time, Sam Darnold is not going to do a very good job. And that's kind of what we've seen over the last couple of weeks here. So I like Arizona. If I had to make a bet on this game, to be perfectly honest with you, though, I feel like the number is right on market. 10 is not really a great number for teasers. It gets us down to 4. I don't know. There's just not a lot here that I'm looking at either. So the next game we could talk about the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Denver Broncos. The Eagles are 3-6 on the year, 4-5 against the spread, 5-4 to the over, coming off that loss that we mentioned to the LA Chargers, 27-24. Denver 5-4 on the year, 5-4 against the spread, 2-7 to the over, coming off that big win against the Dallas Cowboys, 30-16. So when I run my numbers on this game, I get the Denver Broncos should be favored by 3. So I do kind of like the 2.5 on DraftKings at even money. BetMGM has it juiced up a little bit at -115. You can get it at even money, -110 on DraftKings. Again, I think it should be a full field goal here. So I do think there is a little bit of value on the Denver side. Am I super bullish on this number? No, not really. But like I said, I do think there's a little bit of value there on them. So I wouldn't mind if you wanted to take the Denver Broncos -3. I'm sorry, -2.5, because my number on them is -3. I am not a big fan of the Eagles. Again, the 1 week I liked the Eagles was the 1 week everybody else hated them against the Detroit Lions. Other than that, though, I think the Eagles are a bottom 8, bottom 10 team in the league. And I think the Broncos are somewhere in the mid-tier. So the fact that they're home, the fact that they're a better team that I would have favored on a neutral field, like I said, my number's a little bit bigger than this. I think you could take the -2.5 on the Broncos on DraftKings. And this brings us to the last of the 4 o'clock games here between the Seattle Seahawks and the Green Bay Packers. Seattle is 3-5 on the year, 5-3 against the spread, 1-6-1 to the over, and they are coming off a bye last week. Green Bay is 7-2 on the year, 8-1 against the spread, 2-7 to the over, and they are coming off a loss to the Kansas City Chiefs, 13-7 in a game that was quarterbacked by their backup quarterback, Jordan Love, because of the COVID protocols from Aaron Rodgers. So here's the thing. Before I get into my number, I want to throw some assumptions out there. The way everything is looking right now, Russell Wilson is likely to be back this weekend and be playing in this game. Aaron Rodgers also likely to be back this weekend and playing in this game. So when I put everything together and I was breaking down the numbers and running everything, I ran it under those 2 assumptions that both Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers were going to play. Neither one of these things is 100% though, guys. So I want you to understand that news may come down this week on either side of this game that Russ isn't ready to go because of the hand and everything. Or I don't know, maybe Rodgers didn't pass the COVID protocol or the league suspends him for lying. I have no idea how any of that stuff's going to turn out. But when I run the numbers with both of those guys in, that's what I did right now. We can make adjustments throughout the week. But I wanted to mention that because I wouldn't be running out to put any bets on this game right away until we have a little bit more clarity on that. So right now, I'm looking at Green Bay -6. Again, at -5, there's 5.5 on BetMGM. I'm pretty much on market here, so there's not much that I could really look at. If it turns out that Aaron Rodgers isn't going to play, then take the Seahawks +5.5. If it turns out that Russell Wilson's not going to play, then lay the 5 on DraftKings with the Packers because the number should probably be bigger. If it turns out that both of them aren't going to play, I mean, honestly, guys, I would have to blow up my numbers and go back and start it over, but it probably wouldn't be as high as 5 because I would think that the game would be a lot lower scoring. So that would probably put me on the Seahawks side as well. So again, I don't want to give you guys, here's how we should bet this game until we have that other information. But assuming that everybody is in, meaning Wilson and Rodgers, I'm pretty much on market with the number here. And that wraps it up for the 4 o'clock games. We do have a Sunday night and Monday night football game, which we'll talk about right after this break. And welcome back, everybody. We have 2 games left to discuss here. So let's start with the Kansas City Chiefs facing the Las Vegas Raiders in an AFC West matchup. The Chiefs are 5-4 on the year, 2-7 against the spread, 4-5 to the over, and coming off that 13-7 win against the Green Bay Packers and their backup quarterback. The Las Vegas Raiders are 5-3 on the year, 4-4 against the spread, 4-4 to the over, coming off what I consider to be a bad loss to the New York Giants, 23-16. When I run numbers on this game, I actually get the Kansas City Chiefs should be favored by -2. So I do think it's a little bit too much here. It's interesting, though, because if you look at the BetMGM, the -2.5 is at -125, which means that there's a good chance that this number is going up to -3. Even on DraftKings, the 2.5 is -120. So again, this number is going to go up to -3. I really don't love it. I already think it's too many. There is something I like about this game, but I am going to wait on it for a little bit. And the thing that I like about this game is teasing the Raiders up to 8.5. But I actually think later in the week, you're going to be able to tease them up to 9. If you just kind of read the tea leaves, the +2.5, +100, +2.5, +105, eventually that's going to turn into a +3. So if you're going to tease it, you might as well wait and get it from 3 up to 9 instead of getting it up to 8.5. Not that the 8.5 is bad. 8.5, when you could tease a number up to 8.5, it's actually one of the most profitable teaser legs that you can have because you take it from 2.5, you add the 6 points to get it to 8.5. You're getting through the 3, you're getting through the 7. Those are 2 big key numbers. 6s and 8s are also semi-key numbers with more teams going for 2, as we mentioned earlier in the show as well. So I do think that there's a lot of value in teasing up a home team through the 3 and the 7 and the 6 and the 8 in this case as well. So that is something that I'm looking to do. So I'm kind of bullish on the Las Vegas Raiders as a teaser piece. Remember, Kansas City has only covered 2 of the 9 games they've played this year. They're just 2-7 against the spread. This is not a very good team. Their defense is not good. Their offense is not what it had been, as explosive as it had been in the past. And the Raiders are one of those teams that tends to keep games close, kind of grind you down and be a pain in the butt. They do lose some games, but they tend to lose games or win games by pretty close scores here. So I do like the Raiders as a teaser piece here, not making any bets straight up on this game, though. And that brings us to our last game of the week, the LA Rams taking on the San Francisco 49ers. With the Rams playing on Sunday Night Football, we don't have a BetMGM number up yet here. I'm sure it will be out at some point on Monday, probably after the video comes out. So, if the number is that far off from DraftKings, you guys can always get over to FTNBets.com and we can kind of talk about that over there in the Discord where we usually are, and you guys can usually find me during the week. So let's see. Let's look at San Francisco. San Francisco 3-5 on the year, 2-6 against the spread, 5-3 to the over, coming off a loss to the Arizona Cardinals, 31-17. The Rams, as we mentioned, coming off that loss last night to the Tennessee Titans. So when you look at the number on this game, you're looking at 4.5 is what's being offered right now. I actually have a number of Rams -2.5. So at 2.5, I think there's a lot of value here on the San Francisco 49ers getting 4.5 points. Not only are we capturing the 3, but you're also about 2 points of value off of where that number should be. Anytime we have value on the spread, I also think there's value on the money line as well. So I don't think the 49ers at plus 160 is crazy. But like I said, I would rather just play the spread of plus 4.5 at minus 120. We might be able to find that at a little bit better price when BetMGM comes out with it. But until they do actually come out with that number, there's not much that we could talk about there. But I am bullish on the San Francisco 49ers getting 4.5 points here at home against the Los Angeles Rams. And there you go, guys. That wraps it up for all the games for week 10 of NFL action. Remember, you can get over to ftnbets.com, use promo code Benny. You get 20% off on any package that you want to sign up for. We have NBA, we have NHL, we have MLB is over at this point, but MMA, PGA, any of the sports that you guys are looking to bet on, any of the information that you guys are looking for. We have models, we have stats, we have a whole bunch of guys making their picks and giving you their thoughts on which games they think are the ones you guys should be betting on. A lot of information over there to help you be a better fantasy player, better at daily fantasy. Whatever you're looking to do, we can help you out over at FTN. So this is Benny Ricciardi signing off for our first look at the opening line here on FTN Bets and Bets TV on the Game Plus Network. Good luck, everybody.